All right, let's start off with an introduction. Tell us about yourself personally and professionally.
I'm Keith Whitaker. I've lived in Bay County my whole life. I've also the only candidate who's lived in District 4 my entire life. So born and raised here. My grandfather came in 1940 to work at the paper mill, and my other grandfather worked at the mill as well. My father, he was a welder mechanic at the steam plant at Gulf Power. Worked there 35 years. My mother, she's was a school teacher for 30 years at Southport Elementary. So got a long history of Bay County. After high school here, I started as a teller at Lynn Haven Commercial Bank when Commercial Bank used to be in town. Some of you guys will remember that. But I worked my way through college. I went to Gulf Coast and got a Bachelor Business Administration degree and my AA degree. And then after that, I went to University of West Florida and got my finance degree there. And then in 2010, I graduated from the Graduate School of Banking at LSU. It was a 3-year program there. So that's kind of my educational background.
What do you do for a living?
Yeah, I've worked here in Bay County for 35 years in banking and finance. So currently I work with Seltzer Management Group. They're out at the beach, and it's Rick Seltzer's old company. And I'm a credit underwriter. So I basically analyze a bunch of data. I analyze phase 1 reports, soils reports, market studies, appraisals, budgets, surveys, engineering reports, all those things to make a good credit decision. And I feel like that kind of goes hand in hand, kind of a unique skill set that I think that follows suit, being a county commissioner, because we take a bunch of data and then try to make a good decision for all of Bay County. So. All
right, so that brings me to the next question. Okay. Why are you running for office?
Basically, that's it. I want to serve Bay County. I call it my people, my community. So I want to do that. And I truly feel like my skill set fits what a Bay County commissioner does. So that I think it goes hand in hand, and that's kind of my motivation, to do this.
And priorities if elected?
There's really 3 different things that I want to see. The first one is rebuilding our community. We've gone through a lot with Hurricane Michael, and we're in the middle of a pandemic now with COVID-19. We just had Hurricane Sally, dump a lot of water on Bay County. So there's a lot of rebuilding to do, not only physically, but mentally. We have a lot of our residents that are still not in their homes, and so we're really suffering in Bay County. So along that, the rebuild is to, it comes along with that is federal funding. We have a lot of federal funds that's come in. We have money still left over from Hurricane Michael. We recently got the CARES Act, dumped $30 million to Bay County to use. We just have to get that money out by December the 30th of this year. So I think there's a lot of people in Bay County that we could do small grants to give maybe up to $5,000 a person if they were affected by COVID, as well as small businesses that had to close or reduce their hours and so forth. So there's a lot of funding that goes along with that, that I think we need to get that money out. Secondly, did you need to ask a question? Secondly, is jobs. We need higher paying jobs in Bay County. People that have lived in Bay County, that we raise our kids here, they get educated, and they leave. They can't afford to live here, number one, or number two is they're looking for higher paying jobs. So, the old saying is, build it and they will come. Well, we moved the airport out to Highway 388. And have we seen any fruit of that? We need manufacturing, we need industrial jobs to come to Bay County, and we haven't seen a lot of that. So.
All right, let me ask you a couple of questions before you go any further.
Sure.
Back to Hurricane Michael.
Sure.
People are still recovering. So
Right.
What would you do if you were a county commissioner to move the process forward even more? Because it's been 2 years.
Right, it's been 2 years, and I think you have to really analyze regulation and things that we have in place within our municipalities, much less the whole county, but within our municipalities, we need to probably ease up on some of that in order to get the funding to the people and start building, our apartments back where people can rent. We need housing. We need a lot of infrastructure. We have a lot of infrastructure needs. So we need to get that money quicker to the people, I think, and that's the biggest challenge. And that's hard with government, governmental industry.
Now, you touched on attracting new businesses. If you were a county commissioner, do you believe in offering incentives to get them here?
I do, but I think it takes some analysis, and again, I think that's where my skill set comes into play, is that we need to analyze these companies that we're trying to attract to Bay County, make sure that they're on a steady foundation, that they're strong financially, that they have a long-term goals to be here in Bay County. So we need to attract good companies, and it doesn't have to be large, it can be small, but companies that can bring, like I said, higher wages, to Bay County. But we have, we've got Becca Harden at the Bay Education Development Alliance, not education, Economic Development Alliance.
Had to think about it too.
Yeah, she does a great job, and I think we need to give her more tools in her tool belt to attract these companies, because we're competing all over the nation for these companies to come. So we need to give her all the support we can, but we need to be careful and not give the farm away. We need to kind of analyze and make sure these companies are strong and they're committed to Bay County before we offer any incentives. But I'm not against incentives at all.
Okay. In your line of work, do you have any contacts, personal, professional, that could be misconstrued maybe as a conflict of interest?
Yeah, absolutely not. What I do, like I said, we are a servicer for Florida Housing Finance Corporation in Tallahassee. So, my job is dealing with companies, developers that are building affordable housing throughout the entire state. So there's nothing that would be a conflict of interest, here in Bay County. I think there's one developer that's in Bay County, and I would abstain from underwriting any of those deals. But we don't make the personal decision, the credit decision. We make a recommendation to Tallahassee, and they evaluate the data, and then they make the determination. But there's absolutely no conflict of interest.
Okay. Let's talk about the campaign. You have about $10,000. You're kind of in the middle
Right.
of some folks who have less and some have more.
Right.
And most of that you've donated to yourself. Is that by design?
It is by design. I'm glad you asked that, because I want the people of Bay County to know that, I have an opponent in this race that raised over $70,000 within the first 2 weeks of this campaign. And that concerns me. You have a political machine, and you've got people that want to support their candidate, and I don't want the people of Bay County for them to buy their votes, for the establishment, I call, to buy their votes. I think it runs the risk of undue pressure and influence on a candidate when you have that kind of money that support your campaign. And I think that's kind of alludes to what we've gone through recently, in our political environment. And I think that's a bad thing. I think people want local.
So if a big company that could potentially have business with the county came to you and said, Keith, we want to donate to your campaign, would you turn it down or take it?
I have already turned down campaign funding because of that very reason. I want to work for the people of Bay County. I don't want any outside influence that will help, to try to persuade me to vote a certain way or anything. I want to make my decisions independently for the people of Bay County, for all of Bay County, not special interests, not influential people of Bay County. I want it for all of Bay County. And so I've purposely done that, yes.
All right, you kind of touched on the FBI investigation into the corruption and the scandal that's happening now, alleged corruption.
Right.
And that's the reason District 4 is open.
Correct.
Everybody says you can trust me. What does that mean to you, and why should we trust you?
That's another very good question. Born and raised here, lived here, worked here, gone to church here. I know a lot of people in Bay County, and I've told many people that I don't know 120,000 people in Bay County. So the best advertisement for me, as far as who I am, what my character is to ask somebody that does know me, and ask them what kind of person I am. And I think that's the best thing that I could offer to anybody. And I've fielded calls already on my phone because I am accessible to people. I've taken many calls from the people in our community, and they've asked me that very question. I said, I can, ask people that know me. That's the best way.
What about transparency? What does that mean to you?
A lot of that is, number one, being accessible. Right from the start when I turned in my application to run for this office, I put my personal cell phone number on there. I have my address on there. I noticed another candidate had a P.O. box and had NA for phone number. So you can't do that. You open yourself up when you run for a public office like this, and so transparency is crucial. And speaking of that, that's kind of the third leg.
There you go.
There you go.
Put
Sorry
that on
about that.
hold. That's okay.
And drop the mic too.
It's okay. Go ahead.
So the third part of kind of what my platform is regaining the trust, of Bay County. I've suggested that we hire an ethics officer. That person could be operating under the clerk of the court to oversee bids and procurements or any large contracts within the county, that you have another set of eyes and you have an outside person that's going to review those things to make sure that everything is above board. And along with that is we could also have a hotline so that the citizens of Bay County can call in, and if they see anything that looks not above board, they can call into that hotline number, and that ethics officer can review those claims.
All right. You said that you are born and raised here.
Correct.
So I know you have heard about these all-men private parties. They're dinners. They've been going on for decades.
Right.
In District 4, coincidentally enough. Have you ever been to one of those?
Absolutely, I have. I've only been to one. I had a friend that says, hey, we're going to have this dinner and it's going to be great food and you'll know a lot of people because you're from Bay County. So I did attend at one event and there wasn't nothing that became of that. I saw a lot of politicians in there that had petitions laid all the way.
Careful the wire.
Yes, petitions laid all the way across, to get signed at the event. It was an unusual experience for sure.
This year has been different, of course, because of this race, and perception is reality. So the perception is if you're elected, even though it's just a dinner and it's men only and it's private, there's some perception among voters that maybe it's not a good thing. It could be a conflict. If elected and you're invited, would you go back?
I think I would not go back. I think I would abstain from that because, number one, of the perception. I think that wouldn't do well, in Bay County. So I think I would refrain from that and not allow anything to affect my decisions, for the people of Bay County.
All right. Earlier you had said because you're born and raised here, you know a lot of people and would just ask somebody if they know you, if they want to find out who you are. Have you ever had a run-in with the law or been arrested?
No, I have not. But I do challenge the people of Bay County to look at all the candidates that are running and look at criminal records.
But none for you?
None for me.
Okay. Let's talk about, we talked a little bit about ethics and morals. There are guidelines if you're elected through the state that you'll have to kind of go through a class. Have you already looked at some of those? Do you know what they are?
I haven't reviewed all of those, no. I have not analyzed those, but I'm sure, like I said, if elected, I'll go through that training.
And whatnot.
That's right, yeah, and that's good to know because that's what caused the trouble we've had in the past.
All right. Have you ever been to a county commission meeting?
Yes.
Recent?
Not recent. I looked at it online because of COVID, but yes, I did watch it online.
Okay. Do you know what the budget is?
Yes, it's 369 million, but roughly 370.
Right. Going into the next fiscal year, of course.
That's correct.
Just doing the budget.
That's the new budget. And I think it was just approved, by the board.
Correct. And they didn't raise the millage rate.
And that was good to hear too. They did not raise the millage rate. As much as Bay County has suffered, through the storms and the virus and everything else. We need a break. But the flip side of that is, I think that the commission's going to have to do more with less money. And we see that in our own families, our own budgets, at home. So I think the county's going to have to do the same thing. Another part of that is, the tourism has been down for the whole state, and we get a lot of funding for infrastructure and roads and things of that nature. And those funds are going to be less, because we haven't had the visitors to come to our state. So we're going to have to do more with less, for sure.
All right, you mentioned you saw the county commission meetings online because of COVID. How do you think they've handled COVID? Would you have done anything different?
No, what I saw is you had good separation, of the commissioners. Everybody was separated out in the audience, at least 6 feet apart. So I think they're doing everything they can, to not spread it.
All right, final question. Why should voters choose you?
I go back to, again, the biggest thing is just because you live in Bay County doesn't mean you're qualified. I think I have the education, I have the work experience. I think I have an ear for, the people of my district. I've lived there my whole life. I didn't move there just less than 2 years ago just to be able to run, for this position. So I think I have an ear, for Bay County and for my local district. But also I'm qualified. And I think, like I said, I'm uniquely qualified with the things that I do because I think it goes hand in hand with what a commissioner does.
All right, we appreciate you sitting down with us.
Great, thanks so much.